Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well wherever you are in the world. I can see somebody is watching from KL, which I think is Kuala Lumpur. They go by the name of Bamutho, possibly. Good morning, wherever you are in the world. Dan Cullen is a bit closer to home. Hopefully seeing Dan. Well, I say hopefully. I'm seeing Dan tomorrow. I've got a bag of goodies for you, Dan, with your name on it. And Gary Muirhead is here as well. Let's have a look. There's Dan Cullen saying good morning, team. And there's Gary Muirhead saying much the same. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Freaky Friday. Yes, it is indeed. And apparently, yes, I did guess right. It was indeed Kuala Lumpur. We have viewers in Kuala Lumpur. Who'd have thought it? Mark Whiting has just pitched up as well. Morning, Mark. How are you doing, my friend? Hope you're all fit and well. While we're waiting for a few other people to pitch up, it's Friday today, and I'm fairly sure this is the third time in 1 week in which we're going to start the show with references to corruption. Yeah, there you are. That is from this morning's edition of Construction Inquirer. Three crooked construction bosses bribed energy officials linked to a major Devon housing development to the tune of around £2 million in order to secure lucrative heating contracts. 6 people have now been sentenced for involvement in a criminal conspiracy, which included bribery, money laundering, and fraud centered around a housing site in Cranbrook in East Devon. 2 former employees at energy company E.ON were found to have accepted bribes in the form of cash, false invoices, references, and home improvements in exchange for work relating to Cranbrook. 3 sets of corruption in a week. It's not something to be proud of, is it? It really isn't. As Dan Cullen saying, good. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Yeah, I will be at the South Bank. I'll have a daffodil in my top pocket. That bit's not true. I'll see you around about 11:30 or thereabouts. Chris Falls says morning skins, new and old, and new skins, old skins, and the other type as well. Dan Cullen, unbelievable, yeah. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, I said this yesterday. You know, with the Serious Fraud Office and the Competition and Markets Authority uncovering certain bits of corruption, how much is going uncovered? How much is going uncovered? As Dan says, unbelievable. Yeah. Well, I say unbelievable, and yet entirely believable. We have got a stack to get through today, including about a 10-minute look around the attachments at Bauma. So I'm going to not mess about today. I'm going to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show properly on the road so that we can cram it all in before we all go and do something far more interesting. Here we go. It is Friday. Thank God for that. Friday, the 2nd of May. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. In today's show, we're up close with the biggest demolition excavator at Bauma 2025. We're talking replacement engines with Caterpillar. I want to show you the scariest robot you will ever see. It'll give you nightmares, I promise you. And we're going to take a stroll among the biggest and best attachments that Bauma had to offer. Plus, in my morning monologue today, finish the week on a high. Bureaucracy gone mad. That's what we're going to be talking about. Before we get to all of that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine. Dan Cullen is already in the lead in this month. So here we go. Let me play this and I'll show you what the mystery machine looks like today. I'll come back to the answers to the question of the day in just a moment, but Jonathan Duras has just joined us. Morning, Jonathan. Morning, all, he says, and gives us a mighty thumbs up. Nice to see a bit of British logo on there. Logo? Flag is the word I was looking for. My apologies. Right, okay, so Mystery Machine. As I say, Dan Cullen, we're only one show into the new month. Dan is already on a 3-point lead. Can he make it 2 out of 2? Here we go. That's the Mystery Machine I'm looking for. We need a make and a model. I've done nothing with this. The colour is as nature intended. It's as it rolled off the production line. I can't tell you where in the world it rolled off that production line, but we're looking for a make and a model. While you're figuring that out, let me very quickly remind you of today's question of the day. Yeah, our question of the day today is one of my own, just by way of a change, and it was inspired by the current weather. I actually got out for a 9 holes of golf yesterday. Shouldn't have bothered. It was terrible. But yeah, for us in the UK, obviously the sun is something of a rarity. It's a bit like Halley's Comet. We only see it every once in a while. But when we do get a glimpse, how do you prefer to spend it? Are you breaking out the deck chairs and basking in its rays? Are you heading off to the coast for fish and chips and an ice cream? Or are you sat indoors cursing the heat while watching the cricket on the telly? Personally, although the sun doesn't really agree with me and my pasty complexion, I'd rather be sat near some water, a river maybe, either a fishing rod in one hand and a sandwich in the other. What about you? Dan Cullen, and I'm not in at all surprised by this from Dan. He'd like to be in an iceberg. Doesn't like anything above 16 degrees. That's very specific, but he doesn't like to be anything above 16 degrees. There is our Mystery Machine. Dan is straight off the mark with a Kobelco SKL 210. It is not one of those. Jim Turner has just arrived as well. Morning, peeps. Morning, Jim. See, you're busy on the farm. Nice work with the gate, by the way. Yes, he's made a sheep run, and he's made the sheep run a bit like a country house. Very ornate gate on it. I was watching this last night. I do pay attention. Excuse me. I don't just throw this stuff out there. I do quite like consuming as well. Let me take that away very quickly. Chris Ford says, unblocking the fines drop on a crusher. The drink you have when you finish tastes like heaven. Yeah. As you know, I don't drink anymore, but I'm going to go with Jonathan Duras on this. Sitting outside, but in the shade with a glass of cider. One of the things I used to love, round about 17, 18 years old, play a football match, which we used to do a lot. Football match, and down the pub, daytime drinking, and it was cider. Daytime drinking with cider. Absolute huge fan of that. Back to the Mystery Machine. We've got Dan reckons it could be a Volvo EC144. It's not. He's also going for the John Deere 959M. It is none of those things. Let me show you a bit more before we move on. There you are. There's a bit of colour to be working with. Does that help? We shall see. We shall see. We'll be back in just a moment. We're going to show you the biggest demolition excavator at Bauma immediately after this. I'm just going to put this back on the screen. I can only assume that this guess was made before Dan saw the colour. JCB X145. It is not a JCB. It is not an X145. There is a little bit more for you to be going on with. Let me take that away because I do need to show you the biggest demolition excavator at Bauma. I'm going to dredge this off my hard drive, so bear with me for 1 second while I find it. Here we go.
The Hitachi K-Tech booth on Bauma 2025. I'm Timo Festweber. I'm Head of Marketing and Sales Support of K-Tech. I'm standing in front of the KMC 1200. This is the largest demolition machine what we have on Bauma. This machine is really a demolition monster. It's absolutely built for durability and reliability. The machine has a base of a 90-ton excavator, a ZX890, but it received a new chassis and a new slew ring, which is 3 times the size of a standard 90-ton excavator. So it's really built for durability. This machine has a modular front equipment, So you can reach every height with the maximum tool weight, what gives you the maximum productivity on every height level. The machine can attach a 51-meter high reach boom, where you can attach 3-ton tool weight in total. But it can also be equipped in the configuration what is standing behind me with a 33-meter boom and 7.5-ton tool weight. Another possibility is to go in 28 meters with 15-ton tool weight. So you see, you get on every height level the maximum tool weight, the maximum productivity out of this machine. So for this concept, we also won the World Demolition Award 2024 last year in Stockholm.
Pretty smart, right? I can tell you, we already have a winner on our mystery machine. The usual suspect, I can tell you. Chris Ford went with the Kobelco SK210-11. It's not one of those. Jonathan Duras, not surprisingly, went for exactly the same brand because of the colour, I guess. Kobelco SK230 SRLC7. Chris Ford also went for the SWE 155 UF, which is correct, but he was a minute after that from Dan Cullen. Sunward. SWE 155 UF, it is indeed one of those, and I can prove it to you. There you are. Dan Cullen, 6 points on the clock already. He's off into a hell of a lead. Jim Turner, going back to our question of the day, let me take that away. Jim Turner says, the question of the day, if it's red hot, I like sitting in the wood in the damp shade, but if it's pleasantly warm, about 10 degrees, and sunny, perfect day is a day out at a vintage rally, ploughing match, or working weekend. You don't stop, Jim, do you? You really don't. I'm a big fan of work and stuff, but do like to go and take it easy, particularly if there's some water involved. I'll quite happily sit there and watch a river, even if I'm not fishing it. I prefer to fish it. Sit there and watch it for hours, not a problem at all. We will be right back after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Jonathan Dura says, smart demo rig that. No surprise from Kiesel. No, Kiesel are doing some remarkable things. I think, obviously, as a Brit, love all the things that Craic are doing, but some of the stuff that has been done by K-Teg or Kiesel, and also by Larini at the moment, got to take your hats off to the Germans and the Italians. That's what I say. Replacement engines from Caterpillar. Let's talk about it.
Always refer to your operation and maintenance manual for proper safety procedures.
And always wear the appropriate personal protective equipment. Hi, welcome back to Cat Component Moment. I'm Nick Johnson.
And I'm Jack Maroney. Thanks for tuning in again for more tips and tricks to improve the performance or extend the life of your diesel engine, or
in this case, replace it. Jack, you got that alternator ready? I've just about got this core strap down.
Yeah, Nick, I'm just about there. Let's have a conversation real quick before we get there, though.
Yeah.
Why would I ever need a replacement engine?
You could have one that's worn out with a machine that's still got some value. Or, in this instance, we had a catastrophic failure because somebody missed some maintenance and ran out of oil.
Okay, but what if I'm not one of those people?
Well, then you've been watching Cat Component Moment.
Good point, Nick. At the end of the day, though, we want everyone to know that this is definitely the most economical repair.
Yep.
Least amount of labor you could put into a repair for a replacement engine, right?
Yep.
And minimizes all that downtime associated with catastrophic failures like
Sure
this.
does.
So, when it comes to replacing your engine, you only want to do that if you actually have to, right? And in this case, we have to. And the reason is because the damage you mentioned. Some other options, if the engine isn't damaged or the block isn't damaged, we could have a dealer overhaul the engine.
Yep.
Or in other cases where it's damaged like this, if we didn't have a complete available, we might have a short block or a long block as well. Those other options take a lot of labor, right, to produce an end result, which is a running engine.
Right, and that's one of the great thing about the SREs with the service replacement engine. It takes a ton of that time out.
So Nick, when we're talking about a complete engine like this engine right here, it's got a turbocharger on it, it's got a clean emissions module.
Yep.
Sounds pretty pricey.
Well, it sounds pricey, but by the time you buy all the parts for the engine, especially one that had a catastrophic failure, you spend all the money in the labor, there's cleaning, gauging, disassembly, assembly, all that stuff, dyno time. it just makes sense to just replace it.
It's about the only economical option at that point, right?
It really is. And there's a lot of customers that can swing an engine, but they might not have the capability or the capacity to rebuild one.
Right, so yeah, these customers can go right to parts.cat.com. You can buy this over the counter, swing it in and out yourself.
And it's really like a technician in a box.
No, you're right, Nick. If you're sensitive to downtime, I've actually seen these replaced in about a day or two. It's not a lot to get one in and out.
I've seen it done in less than a shift.
But what about performance, Nick?
Well, these replacement engines go right down the same line as the new engines. They're dyno tested, and really at the end of the day, they're ready to drop in.
Yeah, and you can't forget about Cat Reman as well. We have remanufactured the exact same options.
And if you're really concerned about performance, you shouldn't be, because again, all these engines are tested and ready to drop in as soon as you get them. Jack, we talked about a ton of different things today. Can we just kind of wrap this up in a few points?
Sure can, Nick. Like new performance, lower repair cost, and least amount of downtime.
Well, that does really wrap it up. Thanks again for joining us on Cat Component Moment. I'm Nick Johnson.
I'm Jack Maroney. We'll see you next time.
Thanks again.
Why buy new when you can buy replacement? That's what I say. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen, going back to our question of the day. He says this. Question of the day, unblocking. No, we've had that one. That's not the one I was after. Things just shifted. No, we had that one. Oh, I can see what's happened. Yeah, the whole thing just jumped up a bit. Dan Cullen. Like to sit in the shade if it's too hot, and if reasonable, going for a scenic walk or at plant shows, living the dream. Going back to the fancy gate that our friend Jim has put on his sheep run. Fancy gate was just by chance, as it was the nearest in size in my stock of gates. You're probably the only person I know that has a stock of gates. As regards my question of the day answer, that's as a spectator. Sadly, haven't got time to take any kit to working weekends. Hopefully that will eventually change. From your lips to God's ears, Jim. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen doing a bit of advertising here. Anyone looking for a 14-ton wheeled excavator with all the attachments, 10,000 hours, and like new, well looked after, one-man owner? Anybody in the lookout for a fairly new 14-ton wheeled excavator? Anybody in the market for a duck? Going once, going twice. Speak to Dan, don't speak to me. Let's have a look. What else have we got coming up? Oh, yeah. The stuff of nightmares in a moment. After that.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
When I was a kid, I was absolutely terrified of Doctor Who. I was a young kid. The Daleks were particularly terrifying, although once somebody pointed out the fact that they couldn't do stairs, I found them a lot less scary. And I've kind of carried that with me, the idea of robots not being able to do stairs, or, zombies not being able to run fast and stuff like that. I always found that reassuring. Have a look at this robot, and more specifically, have a look at how this robot moves. I may never sleep again. That does the thing that I find most scary about spiders. It scuttles Scuttling, I think, is a really scary movement. Anybody else? Let's have a look. Ken Hatter has just arrived. He says, "Good morning. I'm in Toyota having a service today. A day off, and the sun is hot." He also says, "Nice hot day. He'd like to be in work or on a sunbed." Don't blame you at all. Topping up the tan, eh? We're going to be right back in a moment. Yeah, we've got lots of attachments to look at from Bauma. We've got a bit of it's quite a long film. This one, about 10 minutes. We're strolling around the halls of Bauma looking at attachments. Back after this. Peter McKenna has just joined us. Here he says, "Hello from," I think that's Royal Preston Hospital. Hopefully getting to the bottom of my infection, although I'll post a pic of my stats on WhatsApp, and if you went off those like the docs always do, you wouldn't believe I was ill." Okay, we'll get well soon. Let's have a look. Jim Turner says, "That's how the world will eventually be taken over by one country. That thing can hunt you down no matter where you hide. That's the concern." That would be my concern. Is that a dog spot from Boston Dynamics? No, this one was from somebody completely different. And I know it's a weird thing. Did anyone ever watch? I think Peter Haddock may have posted it. That Boston Dynamics dog. It pops up at a lot of these exhibitions. But there was a guy demonstrating it. Bearing in mind it's a robot. It's some metal. That's all it is. But a guy kicked it to try and knock it off course to show you the fact that it could right itself and everything else. I actually found it quite cruel. He's kicking a robot dog, and I didn't particularly like it. Chris Ford says, "I see Taylor Woodrow trying a driverless digger on site at Manchester Airport. Watch out for the flight delays." Yeah, when the thing runs amok. Yeah, I would imagine we are talking some pretty controlled circumstances right there. Anyway, Jonathan Dura says, "These robots are getting scarily too advanced." Yeah. I think one of the things that too advanced, I think, is one of the things that I would point out. I get the impression that we as a species are just edging forward in terms of evolution. We're getting a little bit smarter and a little bit more intelligent, whereas robots and AI seem to be coming up on our blind side at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Anyway, we're off to back to Bauma. Where I basically took a long walk round a lot of halls to look at attachments. Let me bring this up if I can find it. It's here somewhere. It is. Let me think. It is here. Let me press that. And as I say, this is about, best part of 11 minutes long. Enjoy. To the Breakfast Show at Bauma. We've come indoors for this section of the show. We're going to go have a look around some of the attachments that are on display. This is the attachments hall. Let's go and take a look. Okay, we're going to start first off with General Breaker and Demo. Nice looking stand. We'll come back that way, but I want to spin around here, take you past Sokamek. Another big attachments maker. Full range there, right the way down to the smallest products in the line. Some massive buckets indoors here. Take a look at those. Karatza. Big Komatsu bucket on display. And to put it in perspective, there's a guy sat in one of them. That's a big bucket. Okay, going to take a spin left. not attachments, but this is American augers, which I think is the Ditch Witch brand. Going to work our way through here to one of the big attachment brands, VTN, which I can see in the distance now. MTB breakers from Turkey on the left as we're coming up. There's the MTB stand, and then right beside it, VTN. And I want to show you one product in particular. And it's that one. PD120. Look at the size of that thing. Spin around here. A few more of the VTN attachments. Through to a shear. And then back over to some of the non-breaker attachments from MTB. Do a very quick right, round to Remu. Which, as you know, Remu, screening buckets. I can see the Italian brand Cymex over in the distance, Alu to my left as well. So I'm going to do a bit of a spin along here, do a very quick left. Over to my right there is the China Pavilion, absolutely packed with Chinese brands that most of us have never heard of. There is the Alu stand. There's the Alu transformer and the Alu team tucked in the background there. Come over here to Cymex. I have a real soft spot for equipment that's painted in white, I have to say. Really big display from the guys at Cymex. I know from past experience the coffee on the Cymex stand is very, very good. The Italians would settle for nothing less. MBI are next up on the list. I'm going to do a quick left here, followed by a very quick right. Again, another massive attachments company with a massive attachment on the stand. Mantovani Betty, the Eagle has landed. We carry on down this way to Rotar. And this is where you get the red crush. That's the Rotar stand. A quick right hand turn to Okada. Sold in the UK through LDH attachments, very successfully I have to say. top class range of attachments. We'll carry on round to one of the biggest names in the entire attachments business. That name is La Bounty. If we turn right here, I'm fairly sure OSA is down this way. Still finding my way around. ACDE are here, as opposed to ACDE. We're going to be looking at B-Light a little bit later in the week, so I'm not going to spend any time there. Go left, and there's the OSA stand. Again, impressive range of attachments. Show you a little bit more of that. Some properly powerful bits of kit there. And then over to Cangini. Okay, a few more attachments there from Hammer and from Malaguti there. But we're heading on to the M's. They're not actually filed alphabetically, but it happens that Montebear and MB Crusher are side by side. So here is the MB, or rather the Montebear stand. You can see MB Crusher lurking in the background. MB Crusher, you may have seen on our Instagram, they've got a new product, or a new range of products, demolition pulverizers, which I will show you in just a moment. Let me go right the way round the Montebear stand before taking you on to MB Crusher. Do need to look at Trevi Benny first. With the shark shear there, through the familiar colour, the blue and the orange of Trevi Benny, right the way round, and then round the front here, should bring us to MB Crusher. MB Crusher, who obviously sponsored our Mission to Munich video series. There is the MB Crusher stand, which is absolutely massive. Familiar products with the crusher buckets and the screening buckets, but here is what is new. Let's have a closer look. Demolition pulverizers, newly introduced just a few days ago from MB Crusher. And I have to say that black and yellow looks really, really powerful. Got the MB Crusher grabs there, right the way through to their grinding wheels, and to a fully stocked bar as well. You can trust the Italians to take good care of people. And then onto their screening systems as well, right the way through, out the other side, and then we'll finish off for this round with Daedong right over here. Which brings us all the way back full circle to the China Pavilion, which heads off down there. There you are. That is among the attachments. A lot of them, wasn't there? And that wasn't even all of them. Unfortunately, I ran out of juice before I got to do all of them. But yeah, let's have a look. Jonathan Dura says, I'd be in my element in a place like that. Bauma in general looked great. It was. Partly because I think it was a bit more controlled from our point of view. We made a conscious decision of doing less, but seeing seeing less but doing more is kind of the ethos that we went with this time. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Best Bauma I've been to. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen says, to be honest, on some sites, though, all those attachments will be wrecked. Lack of grease, lack of parts replaced. You're absolutely right. Chris Ford, watching this video, I'm in heaven. It would cost me a fortune that I haven't got. You could spend a lot of money there, couldn't you? Bear with me 1 second. Dan Cullen says, that's a great video. Thanks, Dan. I'm never entirely sure with those things. I mean, I obviously want to give you a flavour, much the same as showing you the beer tent yesterday. I do want to give you a flavour. It's the easiest thing we produce. You know, there's no whiz-bangery. It's just me with a selfie stick just walking about the place. But I'm glad you liked it. Question of the day, which is, what would you like to do on a warm, sunny day? Gary Muirhead. Ice cold, refreshing cider on the beach. Spoken like a true Brit. I know he's a Scot, but you get the idea. Jim Turner says, I'd love one of those rotary screener buckets. Have a word with MB Crusher, or more specifically, have a word with Worsley Plant. Sean Heron up at Worsley Plant. I'm sure he would be more than happy to hook you up, Jim. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I've only been alerted to this morning. Did you know that Monday is actually a bank holiday? I won't be here. It's a bank holiday, so why would I be here? So I should be beavering away doing something completely different. So that is about it for the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very soon. Not Monday, but Tuesday. Unless your name's Dan Cullen, in which case I'll be seeing you tomorrow, mid-morning. If you do have the time and the inclination, I will be back immediately after. We live in an age where it's easier to demolish a tower block than to navigate the regulatory minefield leading up to it. I've been around this game for over 30 years, and if you think that walls are what stand in the way, think again. It's the wall of red tape, and it's getting thicker by the day. There was a time, I'm not saying it's perfect, but there was a time when if a structure was unstable, unsafe, or unwanted, you'd size it up, brief the crew, fire up the gear, and do the job. Now you have to conduct a pre-demolition audit, followed by an asbestos survey, a BAT survey, an ecological impact study, noise impact assessments, vibration risk assessments, dust control plans, waste management plans, heritage consultation, traffic management plans, community engagement reports, and, I shit you not, a considerate constructor pledge. And that's before you've even lifted so much as a clipboard. Now, I'm not against rules, let's be clear. Safety? Absolutely. Protect the environment? Absolutely again. Respect our neighbours? Sure, as long as they're not the ones who phoned in to complain because our excavator made a beep beep noise at 8:01 this morning. But the sheer volume, the duplication, the contradiction, that's where it's gone mad. It's not guidance anymore. It's a Kafkaesque maze with no exit and 3 different sets of instructions, all marked mandatory. Let me give you an example. You want to touch asbestos, or even think about it. You better have a thorough understanding of the Control of Asbestos Regulations 2012. It's not optional. But also make sure you're compliant with CDM 2015. That's the Construction Design and Management Regulations, because designers have to account for asbestos risk even if they never touch the site. And don't forget the HSE's 92-page ACOP, that's Approved Code of Practice, which isn't technically law, but ignore it and see what happens when the inspector shows up. And yes, you need a demolition plan under BS 6187-2011. That's a British standard. But also a fire risk assessment under the Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order 2005. And if you so much as break a floor slab that's near a watercourse, you're now under the jurisdiction of the Environmental Permitting Regulations 2016. You're halfway through reading one document when another guidance drops. Update on guidance on site waste management plans, it says. Wasn't that replaced? Oh yeah, in 2013. But the guidance still exists, so you better voluntarily comply, because heaven help you if you don't and something goes wrong. You're expected to be demolition experts, environmental scientists, legal analysts, HR professionals, and PR officers all at once, all while trying not to drop a chimney stack through someone's living room. And the irony? Half of it overlaps. You've got the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, which underpins everything. But then you've got the Work at Height Regulations 2005 saying exactly the same thing. Don't fall off stuff. Only with more checklists. The pure regs, that's the provision and use of work equipment regulations, overlap with LOLA, lifting operations and lifting equipment regulations. One says check your machines, the other says check your lifting. So you do both, twice, then document it, twice. Every site induction is now a 3-hour PowerPoint marathon. We're not even inducted into the job anymore. We're inducted into the paperwork about the job. I've watched people fall asleep during the bit about hand-arm vibration syndrome. I've watched people fall asleep only to... I'll do this one more time. I've watched people fall asleep during the bit about hand-arm vibration syndrome, only to be woken up in time to sign the form saying that they understood it. And don't even get me started on method statements. Used to be a couple of pages. Here's how we'll do it. Here's who's doing it. Here's how we're going to stay safe. Now, it's a 50-page epic with maps, appendices, risk matrices, color-coded flowcharts, and a glossary at the back, all for knocking down a 2-story pub. I'm convinced there's a team somewhere whose job is to invent new regulations just to keep themselves in work. They sit around a table thinking, what if we add a clause about rare moss? Brilliant. Put it under subsection 4B-2 of the Fauna and Flora Preservation Notification Act. And another poor sod ends up standing in the rain waiting for the site ecologist to give us the all clear because someone spotted a newt near a skip. Can't we simplify this? Surely some of these rules could be combined. Do we really need 6 separate documents to say, don't make too much dust? Or 3 overlapping plans for vehicle movement, people movement, and machinery access when they all deal with the same 10-metre stretch of road? Half of what we fill in now is just to cover ourselves in case someone sues. It's not about safety anymore. It's about liability. Risk assessments that read like novels, not because the risk is real, but because if you don't list the risk of someone tripping over a pigeon feather, some lawyer will say, aha, negligence. The worst part? The people writing these rules, they're not on site. They never have been. They're in suits, in offices, sipping oat milk lattes while they write the 18th draft of guidance notes on inclusive language in toolbox talks. Meanwhile, you're knee-deep in shit and rubble trying to figure out if today's welfare requirements changed again because the toilet paper dispenser isn't compliant with ISO 9001 anymore. It's not that I want a free-for-all. I care. I really do. I want to do it right. I want workers to be safe, the neighbours happy, the job clean, the impact minimal. But it has to be workable, understandable, human. Because right now, it really isn't. Right now, it feels like we're building cathedrals of compliance just to knock down an old warehouse. You spend more time doing forms than operating machinery, more time reading guidance notes than managing the team. And the thing is, it's not just a waste of time. It's a waste of knowledge, a waste of experience, and a waste of momentum. Let the experts do their job. Just make the rules make sense. Combine what can be combined, get rid of what's outdated, and then trust the experts just a little bit. Because if I see one more document with the phrase should, if I see one more document with the phrase should where reasonably practicable, I swear the only thing that's getting demolished will be my will to live. There you are. Always like to finish the week on a rant. Anybody else? Anybody else having to plough through paperwork? Chris Road. What do you want to do on a warm sunny day? Get sweaty with Betty. Don't tell the wife. I'm assuming right here that Betty is not the name of Mrs. Ford. Well done. Betty Swallocks, as they... No, we're not going to dwell on that. June Turner says, not worth me buying a new one, just a screen stone for myself. All true, but I'm not on the payroll here, but I can tell you, Worsley Plant do a fine line in used attachments as well. So if you really are in the market for all of that, you know where to find them. up around about Northwich, I think, if I'm not very much mistaken, where there was an IDE meeting yesterday. I wasn't there because I was doing this. Jim Turner says, we live in an arse-covering age, don't we just? If they want safe sites, they'd segregate the separate aspects of construction and demolition, then only the right people would be working near machinery. You're absolutely right. And bearing in mind, I mean, I've got to be honest. I would much rather a human being were to do this, but it's not. I mean, it's a very, very straightforward thing. If you were to take all of these regulations, environmental, health, and safety, all of these things, and just drop them all into a big funnel into ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, pick the bones out of that, do it. No problem at all. Piece of cake. So rather than ending up with an entire bookshelf of regulations and guidances and legislation and advice and all that kind of thing, you would have one document that everyone could understand and everyone could abide by. And call me a cynic. Is the current regulatory framework designed just to trip people up? When you've got so much, sooner or later, somebody will fall through the cracks. Is that the idea? Is that deliberate? Have they made it that complex just to trip people up? Is that how we now have the Health and Safety Executive, the Environment Agency, plus a lot of highly powered and highly paid lawyers out there basically rubbing their hands together? We've got them on that thing there. Is that really the idea? Because that wasn't what we were sold, is it? Gary Muirhead says, Jim, maybe you could get a demo from MB Crushers. Yeah, have a word. As I say, Sean Heron, Adrian Nixon, one of those guys, I'm sure they would hook you up. Tell them I sent you, and then watch the price double. No, they wouldn't. Sean is one of the gentlemen of the industry. He really is. So yeah, tell him I sent you if you really fancy doing a bit of screening work. Listen, Jim, you never know. If I can tell you that screening buckets perform very, very well on social media, particularly on YouTube and particularly on Instagram. Get yourself a demo unit, film it in slow-mo. You might even earn your money back by your YouTube views. You never know. Likely, I grant you, but you never know. Been one of our best performing videos, been screening buckets. Anyway, people, I'm going to remind you very, very quickly. There is obviously no show tomorrow because I'm meeting up with Mr. Cullen in London and hopefully Mick as well. Obviously no show on Sunday. And there is no show on Monday because it is a bank holiday. I had no idea about that. I probably should have spotted it because my wife is off to Greece tomorrow for 4 days with my youngest daughter. So I should be fending for myself. So expect to see me covered in fish and chip fat because, I can't feed myself. So she believes. Jim Turner says, going back to all things regulation, all our ground workers know how to behave around machinery because they work with it every day. It's the other trades that don't realise I can't always see them as they come near me. Yeah. Listen, I'm a firm fan of the thumbs up, be it a real one or an electronic one. I like the idea of cameras all around the machine. I like the idea of proximity sensors and all that kind of, I think they're all fantastic. Sort your site out properly. You don't need any of them because people don't go near you. You're in a segregated area in your digger or your dumper or your telehandler. You're over here, people are over there, never the twain shall meet, everyone gets on with their life and everyone goes home safe and well at the end of the day. Is that not a better idea? Gary Muirhead says, I booked a restaurant in Turkey yesterday for my wife's 50th birthday. When we're there at the end of the month, and she called me this morning to say she tried to book the same. Brilliant. Love it. Now, Gary, you're going to Turkey. Are you coming back with new teeth and new hair? Please tell me you are. Please tell me you're going to come back with a full flowing mane. That would be so good. So good. Yeah, I like that. I do like that. Everybody, that's going to do us, I think, for this week. I'm going to be back next week on Tuesday. Only a full 4-day week next week. I'm working to rule 4-day week next week, but there'll be more of the same. More Mystery Machine, more questions of the day, more stuff and nonsense, whatever's got my go at a particular time. The surprise is out the bag when the restaurant manager said, "Your husband has already booked it." Bucker. Bucker. Yeah. I told you about our meal in Venice. And this is not the same as that, but it was literally a case we were sat right by the lagoon, and I'm looking for romantic dinner spots. And I found a place. Oh, that sounds absolutely fine. That's absolutely brilliant. I wonder where that is. And I literally looked up. I was sat outside it. So that's where we went. Chris Ford saying, have a good weekend, everyone. And you too, Chris. Thank you for being here. Give my regards to Sweaty Betty, would you? We should be working in a fenced off area, and when the plots are handed back, the fence should advance as we move on. Yeah. That's not a hard thing. It really is not a hard thing. Diggers, people. And the people move along, and the diggers move along, and we don't cross them over. And sadly, Gary will be returning with his own teeth and not those of the turkey. It makes me laugh when people say turkey teeth, because I've never seen a turkey with teeth, but you get the idea. Anyway, people, go and have a fine Friday. Go and have a fine weekend. Have a good bank holiday as well. I'll see you on Tuesday for yet more of the same. Until then, look after yourselves, behave yourselves. See you soon. All the best.